Hello scientists, my name is Jenna and I am an educator performer at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science aboard their new mobile museum, the Curiosity Cruiser. Because we are practicing social distancing, I am doing my science at home today and I would love for you to follow along. We are doing a pepper dissection. So the things that you will need in order to do this with me is clean hands. Please wash your hands because we are going to be handling a pepper and you could be eating it afterwards. A butter knife, a cutting board, and a pepper, and parental supervision. Feel free to pause or rewind this video as much as you need to follow along. Now would be a great time to pause the video, go grab your stuff, and meet me back here. All right, so as scientists today, we are doing a dissection. And you might have done a dissection before, maybe in school, or maybe you've heard that word before, and it just means to cut something open and look at it scientifically. So we're going to be cutting open our pepper and looking at it scientifically. Now, before we do so, we need to learn a little bit more about it. And we're going to do that by making some observations. What do we notice using our 5 senses? Now, I'm not going to use my sense of taste just yet, but we can use all of the other ones. You can smell it. Okay. You can listen to it. No, I don't hear anything. You can feel it. Mine's very smooth. It has some bumps and some wrinkles in it. It's also kind of cold because I just took it out of the fridge. And then you can notice things, so using your sense of sight. So what do you notice about your pepper? I notice that mine's yellow. Again, I can see the bumps that I was feeling before. There's some bumps on top, some bumps on the bottom. It feels a little bit wrinkly as well in some places. And it looks a little bit wrinkly. I noticed that there's this green part on it. There's also some like spots that aren't yellow, that aren't green. Yeah. You might have a different colored pepper, so yours might be different. Yeah. So one of the big things I noticed is this top part here. And it kind of has this like protrusion, this thing sticking out, and that is called our pedicel. And the pedicel is really important because that's where the pepper was attached to the vine, and that's where it grew from. And then under, like around the pedicel is this skirt, and that is called the calyx. And the calyx is a remnant from before the pepper was there. There used to be a flower. And the flower is really important because the flower gets pollinated. And if it doesn't get pollinated, then you're not going to get a pepper. But luckily, this flower got pollinated, the flower dropped off, and the calyx stayed behind, and our pepper grew from there. So we have our pedicel, we have our calyx, and then these bumps on the side. Does anyone have a guess what these bumps might be called? If you guess shoulders, you're correct. We have shoulders, our peppers have shoulders. Who knew so many different things had shoulders? But yeah, these bumps are the shoulders of our pepper. And then if we turn our pepper upside down, we have these bumps on the bottom and then this inside part, and that is called, this bottom part is called the apex. And it just means it's the end of the pepper. It's the bottom of something. You may have heard that word before, maybe thinking about mountains. If you hike a mountain, it's the top, the apex of that mountain is just the end of it. Okay, so we've made a lot of different observations. And so we have our pedicel, we have our calyx, we have our shoulders, and we have our apex. Now, the skin also has a scientific name, and the skin as a whole is called the pericarp. But right now, we are just seeing that outside part, which is called the exocarp. Exo meaning outside, but we're going to be able to see all the different parts in just a moment. All right, so now our next step is to cut open our pepper. What you're going to do that is put on one side your pedicel, calyx, and shoulders, your apex on the other. You're going to hold the pepper firmly in one hand like this, and then you're going to take your butter knife and start cutting off the shoulders. Now there is a little bit of a serrated part on our butter knife, and that's really what you're going to want to use, and you might have to saw down really to get in it. Okay, and if your pepper is cutting slower than mine, it really depends on the pepper. You are more than welcome to pause, rewind, and go at your own pace. Okay, so we are cutting. Got some juice in my face. Yep. All right. Okay, so we have cut open our pepper. Now we have a lot of things inside our pepper. Maybe you made some guesses before you cut it open about what was going to be inside, or maybe you've seen an inside of pepper before. And the biggest things, and I would say one of the messiest things, are our seeds. Yeah, we have lots of seeds in our pepper, and the seeds are really important because without seeds, we would never have any other peppers. They're really important because that's what helps us to grow more peppers, okay? And I noticed that the seeds are really, I'm gonna pull this out, the seeds are on this big, like, kind of squishy membrane here. And this part is really important because this is where the seeds get all of their nutrients from. So if we think about the seeds almost as like an embryo, right? Because that's where all the genetic information is kept for the next pepper. It's getting its nutrients from here. And if we think about an embryo getting its nutrients, any guesses what this might be called? It is called the placenta. Yeah, peppers have placentas. You might have heard that word for when a baby is growing in the womb. The baby is getting its nutrients also from the placenta, okay? Now, a lot of people eat spicy peppers, and our bell pepper is not a spicy pepper, but if it was a spicy pepper, where would the spice be held? That spice compound is called capsaicin, and that's what gives us that pain reaction that triggers our pain receptors when we eat something spicy. And a lot of people believe it is in the seeds because when you cut open a spicy pepper, you take out the seeds so that your meal is not too spicy. However, in fact, it is not in the seeds. The capsaicin is held in the placenta. Now, the seeds are on the placenta and they rub up against it, so they do get some capsaicin on them, but it is not generated in the seeds. It's really just generated in the placenta, which is pretty interesting. Okay, so we have our placenta, we have our seeds, and then I'm gonna look at the bottom part of our pepper here. And yours might look different because we all have different peppers, but I noticed that I have these like chambers, and those are called locules. There are these openings in our pepper. And go ahead and count how many you have. I have 4. Some people might have 3, some people might have more. I even once saw one that had 6, which is a lot. Now, some people believe that it means something different about the whether it's male or female. That is not true. It's just a genetic variation. They have different numbers of locules in them. But they also have these things separating the locules, these little like walls almost, and those are called septums. Septums separating the locules. And we even have some septums in our body. Any guesses where we might have a septum? We have one in our nose right here, and we even have one in our heart that separates our chambers. So a septum is just separating 2 things. So we have our septums separating our locules there, okay? And I also noticed that if I look back on the outside of my pepper, on the bottom, I have 4 of these bumps. So those correspond to each one of my locules inside my pepper, which is pretty cool. The next thing I'm going to look at is the skin, because I told you we could just see the exocarp on the outside, but there's actually 3 layers to our pepper skin. So we have, if you are able to cut off a little piece of your skin, let's see, yeah, or even sometimes even ripping it is better, because what you can do is sometimes get a little bit of that exocarp, and the exocarp is this really, really thin layer on the outside of our pepper. Now the layer just inside of that, we have our exocarp on that thin layer on the outside, and then right inside of that, that darker layer is called our mesocarp. So our exocarp, meaning outside skin, mesocarp, meaning the middle skin, and then the lighter part even more inside of that is called our endocarp. So we have our exo, meso, and endocarp of our pepper. And the endocarp is the part that's like really, really juicy along with the mesocarp. That exocarp is the one that's like kind of stringy and really, it almost is like a fine piece of like plastic or paper or something like that. So sometimes I like peeling those apart because it's fun to see. Another great thing that you can do with your pepper that's super scientific is collecting all of those seeds. Since you're spending time at home, this is a great opportunity to grow your own pepper. If you have some soil, a little pot to put it in, you can put it on a windowsill, you can put it outside. It might be a little cold right now for it outside, but you can add some water and see how it grows. Spring is here, so this would be a great time to see what happens. As for me, I'm going to collect my seeds. I'm going to put them on the side, and I'm also going to start cutting out my pepper because I'm going to eat my pepper now. So I'm going to cut it some more. You can cut it into slices. Make sure you want to be safe with your knife. You can even cut it in half and look at what's inside some more, but I'm going to go ahead and cut it into slices because I am going to eat my pepper with some hummus. That's my favorite way to eat it. You can also roast it, you can cook it, you can saute it, you can put it in lots of dishes. There's so many different things that you can do with peppers. You can put it in a salad. Possibilities are endless. So I'm gonna go ahead and eat my pepper. I wanna say thank you so much for joining me today. I had a lot of fun and I hope you did too. Please keep us updated on the science that you're doing at home and we'll keep you updated. You are able to tag us if you put it on social media at hashtag DMNS Science Party. And if you are on Twitter, go ahead and tweet at us at Denver Museum NS. We'd love to see what you're doing and we'll keep some videos coming for you. Thanks.